Caddis Maximus here, this time with a review of the AutoZone Duralast 72 tooth quick release ratchets. These are the GearWrench or Apex Tools manufactured units. AutoZone has multiple suppliers. I don't believe Apex Tools is building all their ratchets because like their 36 tooth and other pairhead sealed ratchets are just so much different than any of the other tools that Apex makes. What's interesting is I'm sure these are the GearWrench units, and that's why I titled it that, because I recently picked up a GearWrench. But these appear to be custom units because GearWrench quick release ratchets, they don't have any that has this particular kind of wide button design, and none of theirs are 72 tooth. I was looking through Google, it isn't just on their like current product listing on their website that they don't have any ratchets that look like this, but even going through Google Images for GearWrench quick release ratchet just didn't net anything that looked like these. However, I did recently pick up a GearWrench 84 tooth, and we'll put it next to the Duralast 3/8, and we can just see like, oh wow, you know, the same recess except for on and off isn't stamped on this one, but it's all the same. The switch is exactly the same. We can see that the head thickness is exactly the same. So these are definitely the GearWrench units. Although I kind of like that they have a little bit of knurling on the top and bottom versus the actual GearWrench handles. They do have a nice ratchet mechanism. They are not like my last review about the declining quality of the Duralast sealed head ratchets. These actually still seem to be pretty decent units. If we look at the bottom, it's a very similar construction, although there is a slight difference. There is a bit of a difference in the machining of the pocket. Craftsman ratchets also do a lot of the snap ring assembly. But yeah, so these are the custom-made GearWrench units. They are pretty decent. All the ball detents are actually pretty well centered. This one's not perfect, but it's not too bad. They really have a lot of protrusion, and that's what I really like, and it really pushes out firmly. There's a lot of quick release ratchets where it seems when the button's released, it doesn't quite push the ball all the way out, and so it's like barely hanging on to a socket. And I did want to mention that with these. I mean, even the 1/4 inch seems to have a really nice ratchet mechanism. We'll open up the 1/2 inch just to see how it is. We have a little through-hole socket, and we can see if we put it on and then pull it back a little bit, you can see how that button snaps out. So actually is one of the better quick release mechanisms. That's a real solid one when it actually, the little ball being depressed will prevent the button from shooting out. That's actually pretty good, and I do like these. I do like the thin heads, and so it's about 60 bucks for all three of these. The 1/4 inch, 3/8, and 1/2 inch. And the 1/2 inch is a beefy ratchet. One thing I was going to mention is it does seem proportionately that they are using a little bit smaller of a anvil because there just seems to be so much more metal around the edge of the ratchet, although I guess that's the case for all of these. Let's go and open this one up and see how it looks inside. I did want to point out one other unique property about the quick release. Almost all quick release ratchets, if you look at ones that you have or at the store, the quick release peg will be flush with the bottom of the anvil, and on these it's actually recessed in the locked position, and that may be actually contributing to better functionality, at least by a little bit. So I really do trust the mechanisms inside these ratchets. I believe that they would take enough torque to shear off the quick release anvil. So the quick release is actually pretty nice in a variety of situations because it locks the socket on. It's also easy to remove. You just remove or end up removing metal. Come on out of there. There we go. From the center of the anvil, so it does weaken it just a little bit. Let's see if I can't get the cover to pop off. Alright, here we are. So here's the bottom plate, and what we can see is the gray grease. So that has either graphite or molybdenum. It's actually a pretty high quality grease, and actually the other Duralast ratchets aren't even using that kind of grease, but I have seen that in GearWrenches. Now if we look, we can actually see that they do have an O-ring that is sealing the anvil. So that's a good sign. Also GearWrench, and that ratchet mechanism looks exactly like a GearWrench, and you can see why I do approve of it. Is because unlike that really cheap square handle one, which was a fine tooth but it only had like 6 teeth engaging, this is 72 teeth, so a little bit coarser, a little bit deeper, and more heavy duty teeth. But this ratchet pawl has like at least a dozen teeth on it. and is very wide, so that actually gives much more grip. We can also see being a single pawl design, that the little spring, there's a spring peg that goes into a hole that's drilled in the bottom of the switch, so you don't ever have to worry about the switch falling out. It's in a captured system where you can still take it apart, but it can't ever fall out unless the whole ratchet falls apart. And I'll admit, using a snap ring system is actually pretty reliable for keeping ratchets together. There are no threaded fasteners to worry about, to strip out or come loose. So overall, as far as 72 tooth quick release ratchets that have a pretty decent head thickness or a pretty thin head, these are actually made pretty darn well. They really aren't bad. They're GearWrench, and a lot of even my subscribers, as well as comments online, basically say that GearWrench warranty is getting harder to deal with, so you may actually be better off buying these from AutoZone and not GearWrench, just because it's easier to warranty them through AutoZone. But the second thing is a lot of people have said that the ratchet mechanisms don't slip on gear wrenches, that they really will break anvils. I haven't found any videos that really show that, but there's a lot of people who really swear by their gear wrench ratchets. So I'll certainly accept that, because it's been, more than a couple people who've said that. Anyway, just want to do a little more positive review after yesterday's not so positive one. And I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.